Disclaimer: the views and opinions expressed in this program are those of the speakers and do not necessarily reflect the views or positions of any entities they represent. Listener discretion is advised. Born and raised in West Virginia, Philip Bowen's uplifting sound is heavily inspired by his Appalachian roots. This dynamic singer-songwriter and multi-instrumentalist has become quite popular on TikTok with over 6.7 million likes and 940,000 followers and only growing. I think it's worth noting that watching his lives every night has become a part of my nightly unwind routine. Not only is he awesomely talented, but he is a fantastic person, and I have the privilege of having him on the podcast today. Please welcome Philip Bowen to the show. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Caught on the Mic. Ladies and gentlemen, I got to tell you something. If you are on social media of any type, particularly TikTok or Instagram, and you are not following my next guest, get on the ball. Listen to my friend Philip Bowen play the strings because it's amazing. Philip, how the heck are you doing tonight, man?
I'm awesome, man. How are you doing? Thank you for having me.
Oh, man, it's a pleasure. I think we've been trying to make this happen for a little while now.
Yes.
I'm not going to lie to you, dude. I don't just hand out compliments willy-nilly here. You have become a part of my nightly unwind routine. Man. Like, I'll throw in the AirPods, I'll turn on the TikTok live, and I'm like, yes.
I love it. I love hearing that. Lots of people tell me that. And I even have people, like, literally this morning, somebody sent me a video, and it was like an adult, and then they're like 90-some-year-old father, and then all the grandkids, and they're like, oh yeah, we like to throw your live up, just like at the house, we throw it up on the TV. You know, we just kind of sit and watch it. I was like, that's so cool. That's so cool.
What's great about that, to bring that full circle, tonight at supper, we're having chicken, we're sitting around the table, family dinner. Yeah. I queued you up on Alexa. You are on the Amazon streaming services. Like, I just asked Alexa, I'm like, play some Philip Bowen. And sure enough, man, I got to hear a little bit of everything that you do that's out there.
Awesome. Thank you.
Which is really broad and diverse. And I think we're going to get in the weeds of that. Why don't we hand it over to you without any further ado? Introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about your origin story.
Yeah, so my name is Philip Bowen. It's my real last name, no pun intended. It worked out well, you know, for what I do. I am a fiddle player / violin, and a singer and a songwriter as well. And, you know, I've been playing the fiddle since I was 4 years old. So that's like my first love musically. And then I started learning the guitar, like in college. I had a bunch of buddies that played, and I wanted to be able to, you know, do the songwriting thing and you know, sing while I played. And I can't do that with the fiddle, so I learned guitar. And, you know, like a lot of people, I had a little college band. I had two of them. One was a band called Yesterday's Tomorrow. Yesterday's Tomorrow. And the other one was called A 5 Mile Drive. And it was like 9 of us. It was just a huge, just chaotic jam band. And I went to college in Tampa Bay. And we used to just like go play at the beach bars and the coffee shops and stuff like that. And for all the tourists, and it was really fun. And then, you know, which is all great. Like, life happens. I'm married. I have young kids. And so for a while, like, music kind of was on the back burner for me. And I just, you know, didn't think it was going to happen in that way for me. And then, I guess kind of a short story of how things came to be how they are now is I went to this like music conference in Nashville in the summer of 2019. And when I was there, I was like, oh man, like, this is what I need to be doing. Like, I should never have stopped. And so I made a commitment to myself, and it's still on my desk, to do something every single day for music going into 2020. And it legit changed my life, even with COVID happening, because it forced me to do all that online. And, you know, as you could see, like, it started out small. This is kind of like year 3 of me like really getting after music, like seriously, or trying to get back into it. And I just cannot believe like some days, like the cool things I've got to do or how much things have grown, especially in the last like 12 to 18 months. It's just been like, head spinning. So it started for me doing small live shows on Reddit when that was a thing, and then evolving into, I got this been blessed with this nice studio now and professional equipment and things, but it's been a real blessing, man. It's been a journey for sure.
Yeah, it's weird how 2020, as chaotic of a year as it was, presented the perfect platform for people to be creative online. Mm-hmm. Good, bad, and ugly, whatever you want to say about TikTok, it is... I talk about it with my friends because I have a musical background as well. But I talk about it with my friends in the fact that if you are a creative and you're not on TikTok, it has the most true algorithm of any of the social media networks for reaching new listeners, new followers, and people that are kind of estranged to you otherwise. Yeah,
it's a really broad net sometimes in order to catch, like, like, for example, like back in the day, I was like a couple summers ago, one of the first things I ever got invited to go do in Nashville for session work was for this artist named Holly McCreary, and it was at Jimbo Hart's house, who's the bass player.
Yes!
For Jason Isbell, who's like one of my favorite artists ever.
Same!
That's the best, right? And so I'm at this like studio, it's gorgeous, and like every single room has like their Grammys in it and their touring posters, and it's very surreal. And I was outside talking to Jimbo after playing for a couple songs, and he was like, man, like back in the day, bro, he's like, you would have to go do an open mic night every night of the week, and then you're touring constantly, to just reach a 10th of the people or 100th, 1,000th of the people that you might reach online. Now, it's not always apples to apples, but, I mean, literally how I've done it is I've literally grown it one fan at a time. And at the beginning, it was truly like there was nights I would perform my butt off. I'd be sweating down here, and a 3-hour show, and I would have 21 new followers or something like that. And I'd be like, yes. And I would send every single new follower a thank you note. I'm not kidding you. Like I was on that grind, bro. Like I would call it homework time after every stream. Anybody that sent a tip, they got a thank you note. Anybody that whatever. And so like I truly like grew it that way, like from the ground up, which has been, it's exhausting, but it's also like super rewarding when you get after it that way,
Yes. Because it would be really easy to go the easy route and pay for followers or use bots. And a lot of people do. And I'm not going to throw people under the bus, but a lot of people do.
Yeah.
But I mean, you are absolutely right. That personal touch, the thank you notes after the lives, the thank you notes after the follows, that's getting people to invest in you because they feel like you've invested in them. And that is so huge. And it's something that's kind of missing in this world, to be honest with you. So
I don't know if I ever told you this, but like I have a mentor in the music industry who like was just really calm with their time since the beginning. Like when I had like 100 followers on Instagram and stuff, and they had told me that like to kind of that mantra of like, you don't want followers or listeners. I mean, they're nice to have. You want fans. Like you want the big capital F. You want fans, which means like if a listener, maybe they just recognize your album artwork on Spotify and you're a one song on a playlist, they forget about you 2 months later. A fan sticks with you through thick and thin. They come to shows over and over. And so like you're building a true community that way. And so I have tried my best to just approach it that way, and be like, okay, it goes where it goes, but I'm like going to try to do the best I can for the people that are in the room and that support me month over month over month. And then every time we get somebody new, it's a great day. You know what I mean?
Yes. And how different is it now compared to the days when you were playing in bands and working that grind when you did have to like do that groundwork, like that trudging through just to get people interested in what you were doing?
It's cool because I had this conversation the other day with a music colleague of mine who's a much younger than me TikToker. And it's not just a really great songwriting musician. He's doing great. And he was telling me, he's like, oh yeah, but like it's all about like this one age range of you want. And I was like, well, kind of, but like 18 to 21 year olds can't support your art like people in their late 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, they can really support your art, like true patrons. And so I'm not discounting either end of the spectrum, but like before, maybe if you were going to play in a certain environment, you're only getting the people that are there in that specific moment, that window. And a lot of times they fall in the same basket, right? Whether it's economically or age range or whatever the vibe is there. Whereas like, and you could tell I spent my whole career like in digital marketing, like, but like this, the beautiful thing about the web and like doing all this stuff through social media and everything like that is that, like I said, you can just cast such a wide net. And you get some people that can support you at a really high level. And then you get some people that like, well, maybe they can't support you financially a lot, but they're going to tell every single person they know about you. So it definitely, especially if you're independent, it takes all types. For sure it does. You know?
Yeah. And from that digital marketing standpoint, you know, the big dog, Facebook,
right?
How much it's changed from a marketing standpoint in the last 10 years. Like, 10 years ago, it was a more natural algorithm where you would attract people that you didn't already know. But now it is kind of a limited echo chamber to friends and family only when you promote through that vessel.
Right.
So it's crazy how it's changed on all fronts, because I remember back in the day getting the postcard flyers from Next Day Flyers and sticking them on car windows, going to every single music venue in town, and then also doing the ancillary Facebook posts. It's crazy how it's changed now in that regard.
Yeah, it is. And there's still like, obviously, there's still a ton of space and a place for the in-person stuff is wonderful. Like, especially when you finally get to go do that and you're doing a show for real people, like in front of you, and you get the energy of the room. But like you said, I mean, I think that what's never changed is that like, there's no substitute for the work. So you just got to figure out like you said, some people will go buy followers, and all that is that's just for yourself. Like, you know, maybe you buy some followers or something like that. Okay, great. You got 20,000 followers. But if they're not like organic and they don't really care about you, like you've done nothing for yourself. Maybe it's a very short, like kind of a short, like satisfaction, you know, but then like, it's like, okay, well, you know, I'm back where I was. I didn't really get any fans out of that, you know? So that's what I mean. It's just all about that kind of focusing on what really works for you as you kind of like A/B test stuff out. Okay, this worked well, this doesn't. And just kind of keep going, you know, just keep going.
Yes. I definitely want to compliment you on, again, I'm just not giving away compliments out of nowhere.
That's very kind.
I believe that connectivity bleeds through in your performances and your lives. Like,
oh, thank you.
Those few moments that you spend talking to your audience between each performance, or even the way you gesture while you perform. You can tell there's a sense of sincerity in appreciation to who's viewing and who's following you.
Yeah, I think that I know that what I appreciate, like authenticity is king, you know, and you have got to do you, no matter what that is that about you that is you. You know, like everybody borrows from everybody else. That's fine. That's life. But like, you're the only one that can bring your whole self to the table, right? You know. And so, like, you know, people tell me that all the time. They'll be like, oh, man, like, you know, like, yeah, people like the song, but like, they're there for you or like, you know, whatever artist you go in to go see. And so, like, man, how much more of a joy is it when you go see an artist that you really like and you go to their show and they're just like super cool. Right. And they take time. And you're like, wow, this is like 50 times better than I thought. Just like if you go see a band that you love, and then either they don't like sound super great, or they're just like jerks, or they don't like you, whatever it is. You're like, oh, this sucks. Like, I don't know if I like them as much anymore. So like, I think that like the connection point, and maybe, I don't know, maybe if I just value that so much because like, you know, you're fighting for every, you know, inch of yard that you're gaining, you know, whatever, to use a sports analogy, every inch you're just battling for. And so like, I think that people that are willing to, like, I'm genuinely thankful, like, for each of those interactions, or like, if I get stopped for a picture now, which is very surreal when those things happen now, like, I try my best to like stop, introduce myself, ask what their name is, take at least a minute, just because like, man, like what? It's just it's like, what is life? This is so crazy, you know? So I try to I really try hard to think about what I would appreciate from an interaction like that or at a show and just try to pour my whole self into it, you know?
You are on year 3 of this recommitment journey to music.
Yep.
What's been the most surrealistic thing that has happened to you as a result of this, say in the past 6 months?
Okay, one of the very cool things as a songwriter, the coolest thing that's probably happened, is I got to go play at the Bluebird Cafe as a featured artist. Like not one song, not open mic. Like I got to play with 2 other, big shout out to Kevin Mack and Jacob Lyda, who I've written with. And I got to be center stage. I sang 7 originals. Wow. And it was just like, I mean, and they did as well. And every song that I was singing was like, these guys are singing their songs that they've, you know, published in charted radio and stuff like that. And that was as a songwriter to do to get the invite to come to the Bluebird and then to get invited back. So I'm hoping to go back in the spring. But man, I mean, it was just a very cool to go from recording videos on my cell phone a couple years ago, just trying to make anything happen. That's a huge blessing. And then I would say the other one from the fiddle perspective or whatever is this was just last week. I got invited to go to Morgantown. I'm a big West Virginia University fan. I grew up in West Virginia. And so I went there and the football program had me come in, shoot some video with them on Friday. And then on the Saturday at the game, this is I think 2 weeks ago now, we got the whole red carpet treatment. We got field passes. We're all access, blah, blah, blah. And then I got to perform during the game for 60,000 people. And, it's just that, like I said, that surreal moment of walking around the tailgate and walking around outside and getting stopped left and right for pictures and autographs and stuff is very it's like a pinch me kind of thing. What?
Yes.
This is nuts. It's so nuts. And so, I mean, there's almost too many things have happened to be but those 2 things really stand out to me because I try to put that in perspective even just 3 years ago, and feel man, what a difference a couple of years makes in a lot of work,
Because we are a part of an instant gratification world, largely due to the fact that social media is so prominent as we've covered, are we to a place where artists are more about releasing one song at a time, or are albums really even a thing anymore from the perspective of recording?
Well, I think that's kind of a loaded question because I think that sometimes you will have industry or label artists that'll be well, nobody's making albums anymore, man. And they're sitting there which is good for them. I think it's amazing, but they're having maybe $1 million or $3 million of A&R going into every record,
Yes.
And they're spending on the average 20 to 40 grand a song or something like that, whatever the crazy stat is. Versus if you're an independent musician and you've ever released a song on your own, just one song to get it written and you want to get it recorded the right way. So you're paying other session musicians, you're doing studio time, you're getting it mastered professionally. Then you got to market it. And okay, well, I don't have 50 grand to go market my one song. I got to get smart about it. So I really truly believe that I feel from the industry side, you always hear that noise of oh, it's single, single, single. From the people that are more independent or small label, I think the appeal of doing singles sometimes is that's just what you can do.
Right.
Now that being said, one of my goals is I wanted to do a body of work. And so I'm come all this way and I'm just now in the first week of December, I'm going to go record a 7-song, EP kind of a thing. I guess it's longer than an EP. So I'll do 7 or 8 songs and I want to do a body of work, and so, but I honestly couldn't have done it a year ago. I don't think I could have. It's just would have been too much to take on all at once.
I'm not going to lie. I knew that was a loaded question.
Yeah.
I had posed that to Adam Russell from Story of the Year, from the band Story of the Year a couple weeks ago. And we were talking about that, and he was talking about how the marketing of an album has changed, where albums are still a thing, but you're releasing singles as much as 6 months to a year before the actual collection of work drops because of the marketing standpoint of it.
And the thing is, there's also that massive luxury of time when that's the case. Because if the old formula is You record the album, and then you're going to release it 6 months to a year later. Then when the artists go out and tour, they're playing their old stuff plus a mix of new, and they're teasing this album the whole way through. Then they release it and then do another tour. And the other side of the coin is now there's a lot more to offer. Like where before, if you liked Led Zeppelin, you can maybe listen to them on the radio, but you got to have the record at your house. Now I can have Philip Bowen or whoever in my living room, on my phone, in my pocket, on Instagram. So people can invest in you as an artist in a much broader spectrum of ways than you could have even 10 years ago.
Right.
So, and there's all that stuff now, like, well, okay, like, it's just so crazy. Like, okay, yeah, come join my Discord server. Now you can be a part of that. And then you can be a part of my Instagram. Then come to Twitch and you can support me that way. And then I'll come to your town eventually. It's just like the whole universe has changed in that way, where you just have to be ready to try to figure out what you can reasonably do as an indie artist. You don't have to do it all at once either. It's just baby steps.
Well, and then going back to an artist that both you and I love, Jason Isbell and the 400 unit.
Yeah.
Like, I could not imagine. I call Southeastern Something More Than Free and the Nashville Sound his sobriety trilogy. That's just something I worked up in my head, whether that's true or not. But I couldn't imagine one of those collections of works at this point without the other, or one of those collections by themselves without the other songs to support those collections, or without the other songs to support the songs that surround it. So,
yeah, I mean, I agree. Like, I could think of lots of maybe albums that I would listen to either in my house growing up, or like just even in my college years, it was still like a thing to like, you go buy the CD and you read the liner notes, and I still like doing that if I can. Like sometimes I get like a vinyl or something so I can like see all that. Like literally right before you did this, somebody sent me a TikTok, and I had the pleasure of playing on Noah Kahan's album. He's a really great artist. And I got to play on 2 songs on that album. And then like this song called Halloween, like I did all the composition string work on it. It was really fun. But like you wouldn't know that I was on it. So this guy was opening up his thing, and the TikTok he's opening up, and he's like, oh, it's Philip Bowen. And he's like, you tagged me. He's like, I would have never known that was you. Like if I didn't have the liner notes. So like there are such cool, if you're like a real fan of the bands and you get these little Easter eggs in the liner notes, it's so cool. It's such a rad experience. But I almost feel like, I don't know, like there is something to be said for having that body of work. Like if you want to tell a story through an album, and then you have like maybe some of the same session players on that album, and you can kind of get in a groove with each other, and you're working with the same producer on each song. So yeah, I'm looking forward to that process. I have so much to learn about that stuff still, so it's just like, I don't know. It's a crazy mix of all this different stuff, all these different ways you can go about it.
Yeah, for sure. So are you a physical copy guy? Or are you collecting vinyl currently?
No, I don't collect vinyl. I used to hoard, like, I love reading. I used to hoard books a lot, like fiction. And awesome. Then we like, when we moved, we're like, okay, these boxes is too much. So we still have like a few bookshelves, but like I hoard like, I don't know if I hoard anything. I hoard like, audiobooks and stuff like that. But like, I do love listening to records and stuff on vinyl. I do kind of hoard. I'm a big hats guy. Love hats. I get sent hats constantly now because there's a behind the camera. There's this one section, and I have this, it's like a bunch of shirts and a bunch of hats. And the reason why is because like a couple nights a week, all I do is just record content. I book time to record content. And so I have this beautiful lighting near me. So I'll just change a hat, change the light so it looks like a different time of day, record another video, change the shirt, another video, change the hat. So like, it's like my little changing station. So I can like do bulk work of stuff like that. But sometimes I'll have my friends come over and like, hey, do you want to do hats? You can just shop for some hats, cause I have so many hats. So that's my big thing.
That's amazing. So a guy that creates as much content as you do, what does your algorithm on TikTok look like?
Man, TikTok is it's so interesting because like sometimes I'll do a video, I'm like, oh, that's going to kill. I really feel like that's just going to crush. And then like, I don't want this to sound cringy at all, but like, so, okay, I'll tell you how I gauge it now. So I have almost 1 million followers.
Right.
So once again, I'm not trying to sound cringy with that.
No,
But,
not
like,
at all.
so I have 1 million followers, almost about 50,000 away. So how I gauge the success of a video is if I post it, if it gets 10,000 views within the first hour on TikTok, then I'm like, okay, this is probably going to do really good. If it gets like 50,000 in the first hour or two, then I'm like, okay, that's probably going to have at least 1 million views. And those are more like rare birds. I probably only have like 20 videos that have done at least 1 million views. But the key with TikTok, like the algorithm is, I think it's just kind of like, you just I try to be fairly consistent. I do not buy into the thing that you got to post multiple times a day. It's impossible for most people. I post 5 to 6 times a week. Sometimes I'll throw duets are really easy. They're not as time consuming. So sometimes I'll throw a few random duets in there if I see a song I like or something.
Yeah.
And then, I create all of my content in a platform agnostic tool called CapCut. So I can record the video once and then I use a program to just upload it to TikTok, Instagram Reels, YouTube Shorts, Twitter, Reddit, all at the same time, Facebook Reels, so that and then I can schedule that stuff out. So I do have an admin person that helps me, a couple of them now, because it's just so busy. But I haven't always had that, and the process is the same, so content, tee it up, and that way, if I'm going to be gone for a few days traveling, that content goes whether I'm in front of the phone or not. It just goes. And then, sometimes I'll see if there's a thing happening, okay, cool, Taylor Swift released this song and a friend of mine records a cover I want to do edit, then I can do that really easily without having to set aside time. So I'm a big process guy, man. I just you have to have a process for this stuff or it's you will be drowning. Cause I'm a big fan. I have 3 young kids. I want to,
yeah,
I'm fiercely protective of my quality of life time too. So I do a lot of late night work, just because that's the time everybody's asleep and all that kind of stuff,
Yeah, I was going to ask if you had an admin helping you out yet, because the actual statistics, and I pulled it before we started this.
Okay.
You have 207,000 followers on Instagram, 945.8 thousand followers on TikTok. Mm-hmm. You're almost there. You're so close.
Almost
it's
there.
Not even funny.
I know. Almost there.
What do we got to do?
But you know what's crazy? What's crazy? I was telling somebody this earlier today. This can just speak to the power of growth once you really get it cooking. So at the beginning of this year, I'm trying to remember the exact number. In January 1st, I think I had 201,000 followers. And this is less than 12 months. And now that's more than quadrupled on TikTok. At the beginning of this year, I had 9,000 Instagram followers. It was I was having so much trouble growing Instagram. And I just kept hammering away. And that's almost, it'll be more than 200,000 followers of growth in 1 year. And that's 100% organic. I've never even run it. I mean, not to say never. I've run a couple Instagram ads before to promote a release, but not to get followers, but to just promote a release. But it's crazy sometimes what can happen with just consistency. Yes. Maybe something hits the right way and then, sometimes you can get a few celebrities following you and they'll retweet, or they'll repost your reels or put them on their stories. Some crazy stuff like that's happened where it's gone but I try to treat every piece of content just like I do when I do a live show. I try to do every live show like it's the most important show I'm doing because I never know who's watching. Truly.
Right.
And I try to do the same thing with the video. So I try to treat each video like it's going to get 5 million plays. And then if it gets 10,000, whatever, I'll reuse it sometime, but it's just, I just try to approach it. I want each piece to be excellent and they can't all be the same, but I try to at least approach it that way.
Yeah. So
that anybody can run across my page and be all right, that's dope. That's super dope.
What has been your family's response to all of this?
It's been awesome. I mean, my wife Jamie is a rock star. She's so amazing. We have 3 young kids, and so she is my balancer. She is the most supportive person in the world. She's not a huge music fan. She never has been. But she is just she supports me by allowing me to have the freedom of movement to do what I need to do. And, you know, the biggest fan in that way, my mother, of course, is like she legit comes to like every live show I do. Like she is like in it to win it, man. She's like dialed in. You know, I think a couple times it's been a little weird, has happened. Like if I'm somewhere with my kids and like somebody's like, Philip, are you Philip Bowen kid? Like, can we? I'm like, yeah, we can get just not them. They won't be in the picture, but I'll get one with you. You know, that's why I'm not no judgment for people who do. Like, you can look at my Instagram all day and you'll never see a picture of my kids. I'm weirded out by like some interactions I've received on Instagram and stuff like that. But like they're so like, they like think it's hilarious. Like when people will be like, or they'll, you know, come up and ask me about a song I wrote or, you know, whatever. Or sometimes they will ask Alexa, like if I'm traveling, they'll be like, hey, Alexa, like, you know, ask for me. And like, she'll play like a podcast interview and they think it's just so like crazy. And so I don't know. Family's been really supportive, man. It's weird. Like, cause you know how it goes. Like when you're really kind of trying to get after something, people are like, okay, yeah, great. And then it like, when you start getting a few big wins, it's like, man, it's crazy. But I think the best thing that family can do for you is to really help you keep you grounded, you know, and like, you know, all that like good stuff. So my wife is excellent for that, for sure.
That's amazing, because going back to what you were talking about, you really make a sensible allotment of your time. Mm-hmm. So you're giving that equal time to them. I mean, we can talk about money, replaceable, jobs, replaceable,
totally,
things replaceable. The most irreplaceable commodity is time. And it sounds like you're doing a great job managing that, man.
I try. Like that's the big reason we live in Detroit right now still and not Nashville, is because like I got 2 kids in elementary school, one's too little for school. And so, you know, before we uproot our entire life, like I would rather be the one that's inconvenienced and like, you know, I can do that. I'm the adult. Like they're not choosing what I'm doing. And like, I'm not saying we'll never move. I'm just saying that like, I've talked to just as many very successful nationally touring artists that don't live in town that like do what they need to do. Now I'm not saying that I'm sure I could do a lot more if I was there physically, but you know, I'm down there a ton. Like I said, I'll treat them as business trips. I'll run it like an Airbnb house or something for like a week. I'll do as much recording as I can. I'll go play on people's records or do what I need to do. Then I come home. And I don't like to be like, and when I travel for private events, I try to keep those like little tight windows. Because like I said, I have no desire to be gone all the time. And that's why I'm not playing all the time with a band on the road. Like I've been taught to really people I really admire about that kind of thing. And they're like, well, you know, we'll be gone like 200 days this year. And I'm like, man, and I admire that. Like it's such a grind, but my kids are so little and I just don't have any desire to be gone for 200 nights a year right now. You know what I mean? It's so, I don't know, man. It's just, it's my whole thing all the time is just like every day. It's just like trying to balance, you know, what, like the decision-making process now, like what do I say yes to? What do I commit myself to? You know, all those type of things are hard to navigate sometimes.
Absolutely, they are. So who are some artists that have inspired you over the years?
I would say one for sure. I say this every time I get asked this question. One is James Taylor. I love James Taylor. And the reason why I love James Taylor so much is because like a lot of my originals too, like are that in that way. Like I love really great storytelling and music. And my dad and mom had like a best of, it was like a white best of James Taylor CD. And I had like a CD player I'd listen to in the car, like one of those like, you know, Walkman CD players. And I remember we would like, we just take a bunch with us in the car for these road trips. And I remember like sitting in the back of our big van, listening to that. And the first song I remember ever like really dialing in on the lyrics with is Copperline by James Taylor. I was like thinking about it and I could almost like visualize being there. So like I love his just style is so beautiful. I love John Mayer for his musicianship. Really fantastic. There's a band called the Milk Carton Kids that I love. Yes. Super talented. Same with like Lake Street Dive, like Rachel Price is the singer, and she's got like this like old soul voice. She's incredible. So I mean, I really have a broad. I'm very eclectic. I love hip hop. I love, but my favorite genre is probably like that Americana, you know, folk genre. country. I like, I don't love pop country, even though I have a lot of friends that do it and I play on some of those records. I'm not as passionate about that as I am for like, you know, as I am for like some of the more like Americana, you know, stuff with traditional instruments and things like that. So I don't know, man. I have a really broad stroke of people that I enjoy though.
The alt country genre is, you know, I played in rock and punk bands for years. And then, I spent the entire last year that I was in the last rock band I was in. Our very last show was playing with Avenged Sevenfold and 3 Days Grace at these fairgrounds in Iowa.
Love it.
And so I spent the whole last year listening to Ryan Adams, Jason Isbell, and Jay-Z. And
I love it. Yeah, Jason Isbell is like, man, dude, what a songwriter. What a songwriter.
Changed my life.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like really beautiful stuff. And like what I love about Jason Isbell too is like, I love how his voice like is so unique. Like you wouldn't normally qualify that and be like, man, like he wouldn't go win The Voice. You know what I mean? Like, he doesn't have that like classical pop voice or something, but it's like so perfect for the style of music that he is writing. And I love that. I just love like how just unique it is. It's so good.
Well, it also lends to the authenticity of the stories that he's telling as well.
100%. He's just doing like they're just doing their thing. And like they have obviously their band is like full of really great musicians, but like he's such a joy to listen to for sure.
Would you ever become the touring fiddle player for the 400 unit?
Oh, man. I would love to play with those guys. Like, I really would. And I always try not to like offend my fellow artists when I say stuff like that about like not, cause like I was just recently, there's an artist that you should know from, I don't know if you've heard his music or not. He's from West Virginia. He's touring with Zach Bryan right now. And his name is Charles Wesley Godwin. And he is so good, dude. This guy is like, he's so great. Really genuine, nice guy too. And we were having the same conversation you and I were having. And he has like a little, a young, I think one young kid and one more on the way, or two young kids. But either way, he was talking about like what a struggle it is sometimes to just be away and like get like back when you can. And I was just like, man, like, I don't know if that's for me. Although I'm just not sure. I don't know, man. It's just like, but if I could play with Jason Isbell, that'd be a hard one to say no to.
Right. Have you ever listened to Gregory Alan Isaacoff?
Yeah, I love him.
Me too. I'm surprised he's not more, famous than what he is.
You know, kind of in that year time frame of like Avenged Sevenfold, like that punk scene, like when I was in college maybe, or like very early college, it was kind of coming to an end. Maybe it was like bands like Copeland or Anberlin, May.
Yes.
Like, I saw Copeland like at least 3 or 4 times. And one of my favorite bands, I can't believe I almost forgot. I always try to mention these guys. One of my favorite bands of all time ever, any genre, is this band called Frightened Rabbit. And they are a Scottish, like, now, unfortunately, their lead singer passed away a couple years ago.
Yeah.
But dude, man, their stuff is so good. It's like that Scottish rock, but it's like the songwriting is powerful and depressing. It's so good. So yeah.
Yes.
Rabbit.
That's, oh man, you dropped the Anne Boleyn card. Man.
Anne Boleyn, yeah.
Dude,
so good.
Stephen Christian is one of those guys that he is that nice guy. You talked about meeting.
Yeah, he definitely is.
Yeah, like I went and I saw Anne Boleyn and Story of the Year in Kansas City a couple years back. And we left the venue and I saw Stephen Christian walk out of another bar just by happenstance.
Yes.
And he stood there and just, shot the breeze with me for a good hour and a half.
Yeah.
In the middle of
a high voice.
Street. Yes.
Yeah. He's super nice. One of my best friends in college, my best friend Derek, went to school with Nate, who was the drummer for Anberlin, because they were from Florida.
Right.
Or Nate was at least. And like, we used to go, like, because I was in Tampa Bay, like all these bands would come through either Tampa or Orlando, which was an hour and a half away. So like we would go to concerts like all the time. And that's what I saw Frightened Rabbit like 3 times in Florida, just throughout the times that like, I feel like everybody comes through Orlando because it's like such a touristy, place. So yeah, man, that whole scene was really good. Like lots of really good music in that little era,
Absolutely. So what inspires you to be better tomorrow than what you were today?
You know, for a long time, I didn't think I would find anything. Like, I've worked for entrepreneurs before, and like, they're just like, they eat, sleep, and breathe their like product or their website or whatever it is that they work with. And I'd be like, man, like, I just don't care that much. Like, you can answer your emails at 11 o'clock at night. I'm not doing that. Like, I don't care about, it's just work, you know? And I finally, with music, like, it's not that it doesn't feel like hard work sometimes, but whenever I'm doing something for music, I am so excited to do it. Like, it doesn't feel like, it doesn't feel like I'm going to work. It feels like I'm like doing the music is the fun part. The admin stuff can be kind of boring. And so I think what inspires me is every time you kind of see a little win, little or big, like that inspires you to kind of like, that is honestly kind of the drug, is like when you are able to see people emote through your music. Like, I was playing a show at Third and Lindsley in Nashville in August, and I sang this song called Stella, and I saw people there with like my merch on in the crowd. I was like, this is crazy. And I was doing a little bit of a longer instrumental before the chorus. And so somebody in the audience jumped the chorus and they started singing the lyrics. And that's the first time that had ever happened to me, where somebody that was like completely unrelated to me, just a fan, started singing lyrics back to me that I had written. And I almost like was like, I was choked up. I mean, it was just like so special. Like, that is what motivates me to do it, is that like when you could see how maybe your music moves people, or people will tell you like how it's helped them through a certain time or whatever. Like, it's just such a joy. Nothing, besides like my family, like nothing brings me that kind of joy at all. Like, not even close. So that's what drives me.
That's amazing. A few nights ago, I was on a walk with my wife, and I had the headphones in, and I queued up some of your music. The song Anymore came up.
Yeah.
And that first verse where you talk about wearing your grandfather's watch,
Yep.
it about stopped me dead in my tracks, because I'm walking with my wife who, a few years ago, she lost her grandfather. She is incredibly close to that man. She talks about him at least 2 to 3 times every single day. And I took out my earphone. I was just like, listen to this song. Yeah. This is what you're going to be all about this. Yeah. So we finished our walk, and I remember how we finished the song. She hands me the headphone back. She goes, I could listen to that every day. That's and awesome. So I wanted really to pay that.
Thank you for telling me that. That's super kind. That's super kind.
It was, you kind of recalling that memory that you have in your song inspired a memory for somebody else. And I thought it was important that you knew that.
Yeah, I love hearing stories like that. Like when people will tell me things like that in regards to like that song, especially. Like when I played that at the Bluebird, it was kind of like, it's not I just played like a happy song. I was like, all right, I got this song I wrote for my grandpa, and I had the watch with me. So I was like, here's the watch. I told the story about the watch, like how it actually had happened. And then I sang the song. And like people were like wiping their eyes. Like, I think a lot of people have that kind of, either with a parent or a grandparent, where like, and like with that one, it was just like, it's upstairs right now, but this beautiful girl watched them. It's my grandmother and grandfather's 50th anniversary watch. And it's like what he had left to me. And I have it on my desk as like a timepiece. And so I was writing a completely different song. And I'm looking at that to see what time it is, and it stopped. Like, as I was looking at it, my grandfather had, at that time, been passed away for about a year. And I don't know why, but like, it just felt like it was like he was really gone. Like it really hit me in a weird way. And I remember this conversation he had, which is like the lyrics to the song, about like when my grandmother died, he looked at me at the graveyard and he was smiling because he'd had such a long couple of days. And he's like, they'll never make him like her anymore. That's what he said to me, and I wrote it down. And then, of course, like, I had forgotten about it. And then, like, the watch broke, it hit me. And that's one of those examples of, like, I wrote 95% of that song in about 15 minutes. It just was like, it was given to me, like, just bam, like, boom, there it is. And it almost like wrote itself. It was like a gift. It was so cool. Like, and so that one is like has the most special place in my heart for sure.
Yeah, it's crazy how things can kind of, in serendipity,
Yeah,
can kind
totally.
of fall in place like that sometimes, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, it is at the right time. And that's like one of those things, like you kind of got to be present to win. You know what I mean? So like that was a day I just didn't feel like doing music at all. And I was like, well, I'm going to just try to finish this one verse. And, you know, and then I ended up writing this song that like is one of my favorite things I've ever written. And I almost didn't do anything that day with music. You know, it's just weird how those things work.
That's
sometimes.
amazing.
Yeah, it's weird how it works sometimes.
That is amazing. So you're on this 3-year journey. We've covered this.
Mm-hmm.
Where do you see yourself 6 months from now, 1 year from now?
Well, there are 2 like performance things that I would love to do that would be really special to me. One is this thing called a mountain stage, and it's put up. It's like an NPR thing, but it's run out of West Virginia. And every artist I've ever admired has been invited to do mountain stage. And so it would be very special for me too, because that's not only is my home state, it's like my hometown, like the Charleston area. And so if I ever got an invite to go play that, I would be amazed. But where I'll maybe see myself in 6 months would be, I don't know. I will have released an album, which will be a big accomplishment for me. And I'm working on some like kind of mini touring for next year, like regional kind of touring. I'm trying to figure out logistics for that. So hopefully I will have played a bundle of like in-person live shows and have got to perform my album for people. And then maybe a year from now, I will hope to do maybe like a couple other collaborations that like are kind of in the works that I hope really turn out, because I think it'd be really special to do next year. And, I don't know. My big goal, I don't know the time frame for this, but my big goal, like performance wise, would be like, I'd love to play a song I wrote like at the Opry, like in the Circle.
Nice.
So I'm hoping that could happen one day. Like I would love to just be able to just give me one song like that. Just let me go up there and play one. So I don't know, man. I don't know. I just take it a day at a time. Like whatever happens. I'm just trying to grind, and we'll see. You know, just trying to be ready for whatever comes. You know.
Right. So given the state of the world past few years,
sure,
what is one piece of advice for making the world a better place through Philip Bowen's eyes?
I would say that you should try kindness because it looks good on everybody. And I think that there's been so many moments that like people have shown a random act of kindness to me where it turned my whole day around or my whole week around. And vice versa, you know, like where maybe just like trying to assume good intent with the people that we interact with, our neighbors. Like you never know what somebody's going through. And that's like, my wife is a very empathetic person. Like she's more like, she's not as outgoing as I am. But she is so like thoughtful and considerate. And so like sometimes my temper can run like I'm such a go, blah, blah, blah. And sometimes I tend to have trouble seeing that deeper level of people. And so I don't know. I think before, I don't know, my advice would be just like try to assume good intent. You never know what somebody has going on or what they've gone through. And you know, just try to be kind. Just try your best to be kind.
I think there's going to be a lot of lessons people can learn from you through listening to this episode. Aside from the kindness, the genuine nature of your bravado and who Philip Bowen is, there's a big lesson to be learned here about taking bets on yourself and setting goals and, you know, seeing those goals through. You have followers in Pat McAfee, Joey Fatone, Christian McCaffrey now.
Yeah, that's my boy. Yep.
It is
crazy.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Did you see this happening 3 years ago?
No, of course, you know, I think anybody that's ever written a song or played an instrument has had that moment where you're like sitting in your room and you're like, and the crowd goes wild. You know, like, you know, you're thinking like, wouldn't that be cool? But I mean, when I tell you that, like, this is the truth. Like some of my early YouTube videos, you can see it too. I literally I'm holding up my iPhone, but like I have my iPhone, I would lean it against my old computer, which was like burning super hot like the sun, and I would put a pillow sheet over a desk lamp and put it on a table, like, so it was like this, to give myself some lighting. And like the song Lightning Bugs that's on Spotify of mine, I had no idea what I was doing with recording a song. So I got like a cheap mic before I got like a nice one, and I recorded 5 full video one takes of the song. Me doing, okay, here's me singing the melody, here's the guitar, here's the fiddle, here's blah, blah, blah. And I put it all together in iMovie and stacked it up and tried my best to mix the audio with iMovie. And I released it just to get a song out the door. And that song has done so well. People are like, oh, it's such a cool live cut. And I'm like, oh, thank you. But like, it's like the point of me saying that is that if you wait until circumstances are perfect, you'll never get anything done. Nothing. And so like you work with the tools that you have. And I'm telling you, if I can do it, anybody can put in the work, you know? And so like, okay. And then after some things went well, okay, cool. I finally got a microphone. Then I figured out, oh, I need an interface for that. Well, how do I do that? Oh, I need a mixing board, not an interface, blah, 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 blah. All those things. And it's like, okay, I'll try that. Oh, I need a real camera. Okay, cool. But like, you know, it's just, as you can tell, I'm very passionate about it. But like, I think when you go through it in that way versus somebody handing you like a contract and saying, all right, cool, let's go to the best studio in Nashville, record everything here. I think that doing it this way really teaches you the value of like, okay, I worked so hard for this company to partner with me to send me this nice mic. I would have never even known this mic existed 3 years ago. You know what I mean? Like, anyways, so I didn't see it like just like this, but I was hoping for success. That's what I was like working for, you know?
That's amazing. And to my listeners, please go follow Philip Bowen on TikTok, on Instagram, wherever you can follow him. Check him out on Spotify. Yeah. Go to his website. It's philipbowenmusic.com, correct?
That's it. philipbowenmusic.com. Nailed it. 1L.
Nice.
1L. That's it. Yeah.
Nice. Man, I tell you what, I am so happy we got to make this happen.
Same, man.
I enjoyed this conversation. Philip, the world's a better place with you in it, my friend.
Oh man, right back at you. Thank you. I really appreciate it. I love having these kind of conversations on podcasts. So thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
Once again, I'd like to thank my friend Philip Bowen for doing the show. Make sure you check him out at philipbowenmusic.com. Give him a follow on TikTok. He does lives pretty much every night, and he takes requests. It's phenomenal. Check him out. If you get a few moments, make sure you're following me on social media on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and Twitter. Just search Caught on the Mic with Michael Clark and hit me up at www.caughtonthemic.com. Hopefully I get around to updating the website sooner rather than later. Make sure you shoot me an email at caughtonthemic@gmail.com as well. I'd love to hear from you. This has been Caught on the Mic with Michael Clark. I'm Michael Clark. Until next time, thank you.